I think I was about 5 when I realized that other animals were really just like us.
Here's this cruelty. Now what?
We're out here to educate people on the cruelty of wearing fur. This is one step in the right direction.
That message is to be kind to all animals.
I was animal crackers, that's what they called me. I was so vocal about not harming animals.
If you want to protest across the street, that's a public right-of-way.
You must disperse this assembly within 10 minutes.
Okay, everybody stay calm.
We're not a society that believes it's okay to abuse animals.
We have to have that building block of kindness, which is empathy.
We're here to say bravo to Susan Hargreaves and thank you for 40 years of incredible volunteer and dedication.
There's so much further to go. There are many other kids just like them around the world who are speaking out and acting for animals.
Lovey is 23 years old.
Lovey is 23 years old.
How long has Lovey been vegan?
Wait a second, let me get her up.
You almost got her. Oh, she's so heavy.
Oh, Lovey. So, Lovey is 23 years old. She's vegan, and I adopted her in 2006 when she was 6 years old. They said she was either 6 or 7 in 2006. And she was at Palm Beach County Animal Control, and she was on the kill side. And Lovey comes with me and helps do presentations, and she's so comfortable as long as she's being held, nothing's going to happen to her. So Lovey is the apple of my eye, really. Lovey helps keep me going, you know? Because here's one animal that's happy, very happy. So that's soothing, you know? And everybody loves Lovey, so that's helpful. Whatever gets you in the door. A chapter by Paul McCartney in the Animal Hero Kids book, a cameo by Joaquin Phoenix in the Heart Whisperer documentary that I play at universities. Lovey, whatever works. Right? Right, Lovey? Susan Hargreaves. I'm the founder of Animal Hero Kids, long-term animal activist since 1980. And I went vegan in 1986. I was vegetarian, and somebody said to me, "You don't believe in killing animals, you just believe in abusing and exploiting them." And I thought, this guy's a jerk. And then I got in my car, and my conscience said, that's it. I have to stop eating animals and supporting the cruelty. And it's amazing that I never thought of that before 1986 myself. And that reminder for me helps me educate others. Generally, humans are kind, but yet what we need is sometimes to be shown exactly what we're supporting. So that became my mission, to show people what we are supporting with our consumer dollars. In 1980, I became vegetarian, and I investigated the stockyards and the slaughterhouses. But I never put it all together until 1986 from this one comment. And that's all it took, was that one comment.
And then what made you go vegetarian?
I saw an article on the front page of the Toronto Sun that showed photos of the pigs in the slaughterhouse. And there was burn marks on them, and one was lying in their own vomit. And I cried and I cried when I saw those photos. And that was it. And I ended up in that slaughterhouse and in that stockyard taking my own photos not more than 3 years later.
Wow. And did you basically go vegetarian overnight?
Yes, absolutely. That was it. And it's so funny that it took that long, because when I was 9, I was taken into a chicken hatchery. And I saw all the male chicks being gassed and suffocated. So you would think I would have went vegetarian earlier, but I didn't put it all together. And nobody does put it all together. Well, some people do, but it takes a while. And that gives me patience for others to educate them. From 1980 to 1986, I was very direct action oriented and got arrested a lot at rodeos and fur sales and in Toronto. A lot of early arrests going on the fur fashion show runway with leg hole traps, and that's basically what I did. I did a lot of direct action, and I was totally burnt out in 1986 from 6 years of never stopping, really. And I mean, I used to carry a blowhorn in my car to say, "Excuse me, your coat is bleeding," with people that were walking across the road wearing fur. "Your coat is bleeding, your coat is bleeding." It was full tilt on direct action, like locking on, handcuffs, a lot. And it really was exhausting because the government was supporting the fur industry. So we would make great strides, and then the government would come and give them money. So that in my early days, it was a lot of direct action. Well, and still continues, of course, to this day, because things haven't got entirely that much better. So I was arrested at circuses in the Sky Dome, Toronto Sky Dome, the Moscow Circus. So that was basically full tilt, direct action, blocking doorways. Great media, which was, of course, magnifying the message out to a lot of people.
Take us back to that conversation that you had with the stranger that made you feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta go vegan. Yeah.
It was way back in Hollywood, Florida. I had just arrived from Canada, got a job at the Wildlife Care Center, rehabilitating wildlife, and I went to this vegan picnic, and this guy said to me, "Aren't you going to have tea?" And I said, "I'm English. I always take milk in my tea." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, you're still a milk baby?" I said, "Well, I don't kill animals. I mean, I don't pay people to kill animals." And he said, "Oh, you don't believe in killing them? You just believe in abusing and exploiting them." And I thought, this guy is such a jerk. What a jerk. Ron. He became my best friend. I drove out of that park knowing that I was vegan.
Even though he was a jerk?
He really...
In your mind at that moment?
At that moment,
yeah.
I thought, this guy is such a jerk. Who does he think he is, talking to me like that?
Yeah.
Got in my car by myself, 3 seconds, done.
And you realize he's not a jerk.
No, he's actually right. That's why I thought he was a jerk, because he was right.
That's cool, because, you know, sometimes people wonder, like, what's the best approach, you know?
Yeah,
and it
right.
sounds like being blunt in this situation really
Yeah,
helped.
yeah, it was an inarguable fact. Mm-hmm. I was paying people to take babies away, to make so many animals suffer, and I was paying them.
Yeah, but you didn't know that, and him just saying that was enough for you to realize this?
Yeah. Because then I just thought, well, how? Why is he saying that? Okay. It just made my own thought process, like, okay, what does he mean? Yeah. How am I exploiting? Oh yeah. Of course, it's theirs. The milk is theirs. Wow. And yeah, and then he became my very good friend.
Did you find it difficult at all?
At that time, it was not difficult because I ended up being surrounded by vegans.
Did you drink that tea with dairy in it?
I drink, at the time in 1986, you had one choice of soy milk, and it was Eden soy or powdered soy milk. So you get powder and you add water, and it was revolting. And now today, of course, what a difference. Yeah. You know.
No, I was just curious if you finished that tea with him.
Oh yeah, no, we ended up having tea, but with soy milk. Yeah.
Oh, so on the spot?
Not on the spot. No.
On the spot, you finished it thinking this guy's a jerk.
No.
What did you do? You pour it out, or?
No, I just chose not to have tea because they didn't have any cow's milk.
Oh.
They didn't even have proper tea, really. I'm English, so.
Oh, so you were like, I'm not drinking it without cow's milk. and this guy's a jerk.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm leaving.
And you're like, wait a minute, wow, okay, great. So then after that, it was literally no more dairy.
That was it. 3 seconds after I sat in my car, I knew this guy's right.
Yeah. Did you notice any changes physiologically, mentally, or emotionally just cutting out the dairy?
Cutting out the dairy, my hair got healthier. Wow. My skin got healthier. My hair was really actually very thin and fine before. My hair actually got like healthier. So that was a bonus. And I guess I can say that I got even more obsessed because now I really knew the extent of the suffering. It wasn't just the animals people were eating. It was all of their secretions, all of everything. And you would think I would have known that because being taken into a chicken hatchery at 9 years old, I saw all the male chicks being gassed and suffocated, but I didn't put it all together. That's why I'm patient with others, because you have to put it all together.
Yeah, but now the dairy translated to the eggs too, on the spot.
Everything, yeah.
Everything came
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't eat eggs.
Oh, so you weren't an egg eater?
No. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But you weren't one, but you thought maybe it was okay until that moment.
No, when I became vegetarian, it's so funny. It was in stages. First of all, I still ate fish because I said to myself, oh, well, they're swim free. So, it's not that bad, right? I was sitting in a theater, a dinner theater, and they serve, and I said, oh, I'll have the fish. Then I cut into the fish, and the fish bled on my plate. The fish bled on my plate.
No way.
And I thought, I'm eating an animal. I am eating an animal. It doesn't matter what kind of life this animal had. I'm eating that animal that was in the ocean with the sun gleaming on the scales as he or she swam. And I'm sitting here. So that was it for that. So it was kind of in stages when I think about it. Yeah. So in 1986, that's it for dairy, gone. Figure out another way to have your tea. And it really wasn't hard at all. I was lucky because I was surrounded then by vegans in Florida. They were all ahead of the game, really. And one of them was a Southern cook. So it was great.
Nice.
Yeah, she made everything. Chicken fried tofu, she called it. She made everything so scrumptious. So I was very fortunate.
It's hard to believe in 1986.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you were so fortunate to be, able to find people, like-minded people like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's still hard. It's hard for me today to find like-minded people in proximity.
Yeah.
That's great. You have a couple things on your side. You have systematically introducing the exclusion of eating animals, which probably helped transition, maybe physiologically some, because some people have a hard time just quitting everything all on the spot.
Right.
I mean, it's totally doable, I imagine.
Yeah.
But I imagine it also makes it harder if somebody's trying to do that and they don't have the support. So you have the other thing, you have the support too.
Yeah. I was very fortunate. I was working at the Wildlife Care Center. It was run by a vegan, Shelley Schluter, and my friend Lonnie Wiggin, vegan for a long time. She actually ran the Broward Humane Society, vegan. So all these people that people didn't even realize they were vegan, and they were bringing in injured animals to them and bringing in dogs and cats that needed help. They were all vegan. It was all vegan in 1986. And we had vegan picnics and gave out free vegan food. And every year at Meat Out, we would, at March 18th, we would give out free vegan food at the beach. That was in 1986, 1980s.
As far as the physiological, mental, or emotional changes, anything else that you didn't mention?
My family thought I was crazy, but they always thought I was. I mean, I embarrassed my mom in 1980 when I was on the news getting arrested at the rodeo. And her friends saw me, and she said, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. And then my dad, really, he was like, his friends, he actually trained policemen, and I was getting arrested by the people he trained. So it was embarrassing to him. So they were like basically embarrassed by me.
That's not really a change. It's more like a challenge. There you go. Yeah.
That was my challenge.
Yeah.
And a challenge that, hey, you know what? You're not going to change your family.
Mm-hmm.
That's a challenge too. You have to realize that. You're not going to change your family. Just, take care of yourself.
Going vegan, I'm just curious, was there any other physical or mental or emotional changes?
I was energized when I became vegan. I had way more energy.
Okay.
Way more energy.
Yeah, because a lot of times people who are vegetarian, they start eating just a lot more dairy, right?
More cheese or something, yeah.
So it could be a dramatic thing going from vegetarian to vegan.
Yeah.
So was it really a dramatic thing, or did you just not have a lot of dairy to begin with?
The big change for me when I went from vegetarian to vegan was my energy level, and I felt more alive. My skin was better, my hair was better, and I just felt more in tune, actually.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for me that I went vegan. It was for the animals.
Yeah.
But this was like bonus. And it really, on one hand, it's absolutely wonderful, because then now I knew I had a bigger job to do. Not just don't kill the cows and the pigs and the chickens, but also don't use them. Don't use their secretions. So now we've got a bigger mission than I at first realized.
Were you consuming a lot of dairy, though, before you went vegan?
Not really.
Okay, so it wasn't a huge change. Okay. But just that little bit of...
Big difference.
Made a big difference.
Yeah.
Just removing that little bit, yeah. Let's go a little further back. Prior to going vegetarian, were you consuming a lot of meat, eggs, and dairy?
Actually, I never really liked eating animals. I was force-fed liver. Mother. You can't leave the table until you're finished your food. And I would say, but the liver, the veins are snapping in my mouth. And I was told, don't be silly, there are no veins in liver. And me and my brother would actually put the liver in our cheeks and go spit it out in the toilet.
That's funny, because I remember growing up in the 70s and 80s in LA with my dad and my mom, and the most traumatic time was dinner time when we had liver, and he would yell at me, and I would cry, and I would gag, and I guess that must have been a pretty common thing, I think.
At the time, they didn't know any better, and since then, my mom has been vegan now for 20 years, and she actually apologized to me and my dad for feeding us what they did and making us eat it. I mean, it's actually a hereditary hip thing that in Australia for 6 months I was in the hospital at 8 years old with my leg up in traction for 6 months. And at 8 years old, they would come along with this cart and they would force me to drink a glass of milk every day. And I hated it. And it was all warm and it was disgusting. And they thought, oh, this is good for you. They didn't know any better. In the olden days, they didn't know any better. Now, we know better. Even my macho brother has almond milk in his fridge. Well, 42% of people have plant milks in their fridge. Not necessarily vegans. 42%. Huge difference today. Absolutely huge.
In 1980, did you happen to know a lot of vegetarians?
In 1980, there was loads of vegetarians in Toronto, but not vegans.
Were they friends?
The vegetarians were, because but they weren't vegan. I had not met a vegan until 1986 when I moved to Florida.
Yeah. But I'm just kind of curious if you had a lot of social support in the beginning there in the 80s. In 1980, being vegetarian, did you have support?
Oh yeah, that was easy.
It was easy?
Yeah. And I had a lot of support with the activism too. Nice. Well, I say that, but at the time, it was me and one person with a poster of a wolf in a leg hole trap every Saturday. So
it started off
one person.
One
One person support.
So you started off with the one person.
Yeah.
So you had to have some willpower there. You know, you didn't have like a whole bunch of people.
No, you were just like, it was me and one other person.
And that progressively grew to become more people. It sounds like.
The more I organized, the more people joined. Yeah, that's right.
And then you probably didn't need a lot of support when you went vegan in 86.
No.
Because it was just easy, like you said.
It was.
Yeah. Prior to 1980, were you already eating a lot of beans and greens and grains and fruits and veggies and mushrooms and stuff like that already?
It's so funny. In 1980, I did not know what a chickpea was. Mm-hmm. And this fellow told me that I should eat lots of chickpeas if I'm going vegetarian. Mm-hmm. And I said, what's a chickpea? Because I was brought up English. I mean, we were forced to eat disgusting stuff. Mm-hmm. Pig's feet. Disgusting stuff. Yeah. And a chickpea wasn't in the English, vegetables. And so off I went on my search for a chickpea, and it took me to a dusty, old health food store that smelled like dirt. And I'm asking, do you have any chickpeas? Do you have any chickpeas? And that's where I found actually a block of vegan cheese that tasted like soap. It was really not good. So massive difference today, massive difference.
I'm just kind of curious if prior to 1980, if you were eating maybe enough beans and greens and grains, and that the transition to vegetarianism was because it sounds like it was predominantly. It sounds like you weren't eating a lot of
potatoes and cabbage.
So you just ate more of that.
Yeah, potatoes, cabbage.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was enough to sustain you for a while, right?
Yep.
From 86 moving up till now, how did your diet and lifestyle change? Because you have a lot, I'm imagining, going.
Yeah, in 1986, there was one type of vegan ice cream, one type of soy milk, one type of burger, maybe, if you were lucky. And if you wanted anything else, you could actually mail order Loma Linda sausage links in little cans from Loma Linda, California.
How did you even discover that?
You mail ordered it. It wasn't me. It was my longer term vegan friends in 1986. They would order them, and we'd have like a big celebration around these little Loma Linda vegan sausages. Yeah. So now, fast forward to today, and look at the plant milk section in the grocery store. It's like my parents are educating me on new vegan products they're seeing in Walmart, Costco. It's available today. Target. Massive difference today. Massive difference. Yeah. There's really no excuse today. It's affordable. It's available, and everybody knows about it. Now, I say there's no excuse. I mean, once you decide to go vegan, it's pretty easy.
1986, you're discovering new things and all that. Did you have a close relationship with your parents in such a way that they were responding to any of this?
No, because I had moved out, and I'd moved countries. They were in another country.
Yeah. So
that was good.
How did you come to influence them over time?
Over time, my mom did not listen to me at all. Same with my dad. Your family doesn't listen to you. Yeah. But what changed my mom was she went in for a hip replacement, and an Irish nurse told her, don't drink any milk. If you want your bones to heal well and get better, don't drink any milk. And she came back from the hospital, and she said to me, I'm not drinking any milk or having dairy anymore. I said, oh, great. What? This Irish nurse told me. Oh, really? Wasn't something I've been telling you for the last 7 years. This was an Irish nurse. It wasn't just any old nurse. So what do I know?
It's funny. I heard over the weekend, I heard somebody say, somebody's dating a non-vegan, and other people said, your significant other is going to have to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah, that's true. Now, my significant other was not vegan, and she asked me to move in with her, and said that the whole house would be vegan if I moved in.
She said that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So it was sort of like, and then she doesn't remember. She saw a horrible newscast, MacArthur Dairy, where they were shooting the male calves in the head and putting them in a pit. And it was an undercover investigation on the news. It upset her, and she ended up just becoming vegan. It looks amazing. She's 84. My dad is 88. He eats more plant-based meat than before, but he still hasn't gone vegan. And he has a heart stent, so that's kind of worrisome that he won't do. So actually, after he had his heart stent thing, I went over to his house and I threw out all the sausages that he had from pigs and animals. I threw them in the garbage.
Did he have to get another stent because of that? Because you stressed him out so much?
But it's so funny, nobody mentioned it. His wife never mentioned it, and he never mentioned it. They never said, hey, did you throw out all the sausages?
Oh, they didn't know you did it.
They knew it was me. They were there, and then they weren't.
Yeah.
I was there.
You were sneaky about it, is what I mean.
It was like late at night. I opened the fridge. I opened the freezer.
thief in the
Saw what
night.
was in there. I'm like, that's it. This is going.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like he's maybe a little bit plant forward at least.
Yeah.
And your mom's doing excellent, it sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah. And how long ago did she go vegan?
20 years ago, my mom went vegan. Yeah.
And was it just from the nurse, or was
It was the Irish nurse, and then she learned more. And then, of course, being around me, eating what I eat. My home was vegan. I moved back to Toronto. Relatives would come to visit from England. And there was my Aunt Maureen one time, had groceries in the car. She was going to bring them in, and it was chicken. And my mom said, don't bring that chicken in the house. And Maureen said, I've never heard of anything like that in my life. I can't bring the chicken in Susan's house and put it in the fridge. No, you can't. You've heard of it now. Don't bring that chicken in the house, because I, of course, would not have allowed it. I was working at the Wildlife Care Center rehabilitating injured wildlife, and somebody was there that was on the board of directors. They asked me to pick them up lunch, which was a chicken sandwich. And I said, I don't put dead animals in my car unless they died accidentally. And it was like an animal that I'm rescuing. And people are shocked at that because they don't put it together.
You've done some pretty incredible activism between 80 and 86. If I recall correctly, you said you kind of slowed down at a point because you're maybe getting a little burnout or something?
Yeah, I was getting burnt out in 1986 for doing direct action activism in Toronto against the fur industry, against the circus industry, against rodeos, a lot of arrests. But what was really frustrating was the government was shoring up the fur industry. So great strides were made. Sales were going down. Every 2 weeks there was an article in the newspaper because it was so, like I did, we'd rather go naked than wear fur. I was the first one to organize that. We'd rather go naked than wear fur in Alan Cherry's store in Yorkville. And so it was really making a difference. People were not buying fur as much. The fur district was starting to shrink, and then the government would come in and give them money.
Bail them out?
Yeah.
Wow. Like they really needed this?
Yeah, and I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't see anyone in a fur coat without saying something. So there was one point where my bank manager called the police because the woman in front of me was wearing all these lynxes. And I said, do you know how many lynxes that you're wearing? Because, they just take from the back of the neck they take the so-called best part. She was wearing about 8 lynxes. And so I just told her how many lynxes she was wearing. And then she complained to the bank manager, the police were called, and then I realized the police aren't coming, it's taking too long, and I'm leaving, goodbye. So it's like I couldn't do anything, really. So I was getting burnt out, and it was freezing in the winter. So off I went to Florida to learn how to rehabilitate injured wildlife. And that was a relief really. I didn't stop doing activism. We still did a lot against the veal industry, carriage horses, Miami Seaquarium. There used to be Ocean World. We closed down Ocean World on 17th Street with direct action. So I never did slow down, but it was easier to do it surrounded by vegans in 1986 in Florida with no snow. and a government that did listen a little bit more, actually, you know.
In Florida?
Yeah.
They at least probably they didn't try to pick back up what you were tearing down.
Yeah, exactly. In 1982, the Hollywood City Commission, I spoke at it, and they banned the display of exotic animals in 1982 in Hollywood, Florida. So there was strides being made. It felt more constructive.
Every time I talk to you, I almost feel like you just blow me away with so much more that you've done. It's unbelievable. You probably need to write a book or something. Tell me some of your most major accomplishments that you're most proud of. I mean, it might be a tough question. You're probably proud of them all, right?
A lot of people ask me, what are you most proud of in your accomplishments? Mm-hmm. And I really feel like I haven't hit the animal saving jackpot yet. I really feel like I still need to keep absolutely focused and obsessed in order to do the best. Yes, okay, I emigrated into the United States legally as an extraordinary person in the field of humane education, thanks to Jane Goodall and a lot of people that spoke up for my education presentations, because I was the first to do interactive dramatizations with children where they dressed up as the animals and they empathized immediately with what the animals were going through. So yes, that's good. I do have a lot of history, a lot of like closed down 2 rodeos, closed down Ocean World, closed down the dolphin acts at the in Toronto, outside of Toronto actually, Canada's Wonder World. So there were some victories along the way, and got great media reaching. Like, it would be millions of dollars worth of advertising, millions, you know, national news, you know, getting on the Toronto Sky Dome with the banner, really stopping the circus right after the Bear Act. So stopping cruelty, stopping the exploitation immediately, like shutting them down. And then the media coming out of it, reaching so many. And then the humane education, a lot of times I actually meet adults where I went to their school, and they're adults. And I was in their kindergarten class presenting a program. They turned vegan. They're like 23. I meet their mother. He graduated from film school, and he just did a claymation for us. It's just amazing that I met the person that I didn't know I affected 20 years later. And then he helps and does our veganza claymation. So yes, I have done a lot. There's a lot of history, a lot of victories. Long way to go. I still have not reached my animal saving jackpot. So I need an animal hero world. In Orlando, we don't have anything to compete with SeaWorld, zoos, circuses, 4-H club, where the children in school take little baby animals, and then when they're like a year later, they go and sell them for slaughter. The children are so upset, mainly.
When you say we don't have anything to compete?
We don't have anything to compete. We do not have an animal hero world. We need a big amusement park that's all vegan, that has rides, that has a theme like veganza, animal heroes, that children come to for school field trips. We don't have that. That needs to be there right beside SeaWorld. We need an animal hero world. So I have so many things more to do. I'm 63, but I still feel like I'm just getting started. And I'm enthusiastic about it.
Yesterday, when we were kind of hanging out, I mentioned Anika Foods. And you mentioned getting a cake from there. What was
Yeah.
that about again?
So for my mom's 84th surprise party,
Okay.
who's vegan, and she looks like she's about 60.
Yesterday when we were hanging out talking, I asked if you'd ever been to the Leaves and Roots
Oh,
Kava
yeah,
Cafe.
yeah.
And you said that you were there, I guess fairly recently, celebrating something. What was that about?
In 1986, I began protesting at the Miami Seaquarium. And Lolita, the captive orca, was captured in 1970. Last week, it was announced that they were going to put Lolita in a sea pen. So that is very good news. That is actually groundbreaking. SeaWorld is going to do everything they can to stop it. They're actually organizing a petition to say, bring Lolita over to SeaWorld in Orlando. Don't put her back in her home waters where her family is and her mother is still alive. They don't want it to happen because it affects their bottom dollar. Because how can that happen and then you pretend that it's okay to take animals from the wild and restrict them in our equivalent of being trapped in an elevator for their entire rest of their lives? How can you justify that? I got a lot of calls when they announced that the sea pen was going to happen. And I got a lot of calls from people that we protested together. And so I said, let's go to a vegan lounge, Leaves and Roots lounge, and toast. Because we do have to celebrate the victories. We're still here, we're still fighting. There's a big, big war going on. But we do have to celebrate the victories. And so that's what we did. We had a good toast.
Nice. That's so beautiful. Wow. I actually did like 3 interviews in Leaves and Roots. That place has been really instrumental in the movement in the most kind of like subtle, like it's interesting how each person finds their own way, unique way, and then everybody's doing their own thing, but it all kind of like, they're all different pieces of the puzzle, you know? When I was setting up to do the interviews in there, he was like, I used to be, you know, pretty hardcore activist too, but now I'm doing, you know, just kind of doing this instead or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he is because you know, it helped us so much, and it gives you a place to celebrate, and that's such a good point. You know, we really do need to celebrate, but it is hard to celebrate when we feel like we haven't accomplished enough yet.
Yeah,
you know?
it's so frustrating. In 1982, I was involved in a group, Mobilization for Animals. Somebody told me years later that the same people who were involved back then, if they're still active today, then they definitely have post-traumatic stress syndrome. Because once you see firsthand, or even witness on video, what the animals are going through, you can never forget it. And you're remembering it at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to sleep. I get this unbidden video reel in my brain of all that I've seen in person that will never go away. And that makes me more determined than when I wake up. So it's sort of like many people are like the Ancient Mariner, which is that old poem where the guy that saw so much on the sea because they killed the albatross, it's an old poem, he was destined to go around warning people not to kill the albatross. Well, activists are like that, long-term activists. We cannot give up, and we are destined to educate however we can in our own way. Everybody has their role to play. One thing I never do is criticize what someone else is doing. I think it's so wonderful that they're doing it. I don't care if they're writing a letter to their letters to the editor. I don't care if they're talking to their neighbors. I don't care if they create a vegan restaurant, a sanctuary, activism, whatever level they want. I just love it all because we need it all. We have a mountain of animal abuse, a big mountain of animal abuse. And everybody in their own way is climbing it. And then when we get to the other side, we'll have a changed world. We just have to focus.
Right now, the world is probably really hard to handle, and I imagine that, having been doing this so long, there's probably a lot of opportunities for you to get really in a dark place. Maybe you cope with it by immersing yourself in this activism. Is that true? I mean, how do you cope with living in such a sick world, essentially?
I try and keep my optimism level up. And that's not easy to keep your optimism level up. And it's not easy. A lot of us don't get the support that we need. There's some infighting and competitiveness, even with our own people, and that is even more upsetting than family or a spouse, because you think, they're my people. We're all on the same side. They're my people. And it's difficult to keep going. And that's why I celebrate the small victories. And my little escapes are things like looking at pictures of fairies, looking at mermaids. And then when I wrote the book about Vegan's the animal hero, who is basically an Irish fairy with a mermaid, and then I'm reaching children now with these Veganza superheroes, that really energizes me and keeps me going. Because now I see the 5 and the 6-year-olds saying, getting into the characters and the vegan superheroes. So that helps me keep going. That's like my fuel, really. It's like we have these big hearts, and they're sore. Really, they're sort of aching because of everything that we've seen. And then something happens where somebody gets it, a student, a child. I meet somebody later, and they say, oh, I see now. I love this vegan superhero. I want to do the vegan recipes in the book. Then it's like, okay, keep going, keep going.
That's so cool, because I've had a bit of an epiphany similar to this before, where I'm putting stuff out there in social media. I'm talking to people wherever I can, whenever I can, and every opportunity possible. And sometimes it's just like you're putting out 100%, but the return on investment, you have absolutely zero idea. You might even feel like nobody's hearing you. And then suddenly somebody says, hey, I've been doing things different, since I've been following you on social media.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, damn, you never said anything. And all this time I thought nobody was even reading it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you think you're in your own little world, chugging along, trying, and then you find out through a complete coincidence that what you're doing is working. So like, for instance, I did a presentation at a private school, and part of my presentation is about helping wildlife, helping all species of animals, being kind to all. Who can argue with that? So a part of it is about keeping wildlife captive. And so some, like roadside zoo, is going around to schools pretending that they're a sanctuary. And they approach this very wealthy private school. And I found out from a teacher that they said at the meeting, do you remember when Susan Hargreaves came to school? Do you remember what she said about keeping wildlife captive? If they have a Florida panther and a bear cub and these lizards and snakes captive, we don't want anything a part of it in our school. How could I have known that I made that difference? Only because somebody was sitting in that room that told someone else that told me. So it's amazing. Even years ago in 1980, when I was standing at that corner with the photo of the wolf in the leg hole trap chewing off his own paw, unbeknownst to me, a woman saw this big photo, went back into Hudson's Bay Company, bought a cloth coat, put her fur coat in a big shopping bag to be able to walk by me, took the train back home 2 hours away, told her neighbor that there was this woman outside with this picture of that was my best friend. That was her neighbor, Kelly. So Kelly called me and said, were you at Young and Bloor with a, yeah.
Wow.
She said there was this red-haired woman with the thing. I knew it was you.
Well, why did she put it in the bag? I'm kind of confused about
She
the
put
bag
it in a
part.
bag. She wanted to hide the fur coat from us to walk by.
Oh,
and she
wow.
never wore that fur coat again. How amazing is that I found out about it? So we are making a difference. So we might think, we might be frustrated, I think, oh my God, I have not done enough. I need to do more. I still need to do an Animal Hero world. I still need to do a Veganza Animal Heroes feature film, action adventure movie. So these are things I still need to do. But when we find out that once in a while we get that little like, do you know that you changed me? Like people say to me, oh, I became vegan after I saw this and that I did. And they were like making fun of me. Wow. Like 15 years ago, there was people, they were just making fun of me. Yeah. Turns out, wasn't so funny after all, was it? They listened.
You know, you said something about the way they were bringing those animals to the schools.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a couple of years ago on the front page of the local paper, I think it was like the USDA or something was funding this program. They would go into schools and you would adopt an animal on a farm. This is like a small farm. It wasn't reflective of like a CAFO or whatever. The school would get information about this animal growing up on this farm as if it was like all peaceful. Our money is going to support this illusion they're creating. It was so disturbing how they're brainwashing children.
It's a massive scale brainwashing of children in the schools. Future Farmers of America, 4-H Club. The 4-H Club can have free office space and access to so much money because they are the USDA. So for the first time ever in Connecticut, in 2 school districts, the students had a choice on their program. If they liked animals, they could go to the 4-H Club where their animals are killed within a year, or they could choose the Animal Hero kids, be an animal hero. For the first time ever. Now that was groundbreaking. Yeah. So the Animal Hero Kids Voices for the Voiceless book, in an e-version, was bought for each student by the school board. And then I was virtually, zoomed in to talk through the book and all the different levels of it. And so it was the first time children who really cared for animals had a choice, because the children care for animals and they think, oh, look at that cute little pig, that cow, that calf, that chicken, and then they love that chicken or cow or pig, and then they cry and cry. They're heartbroken because they don't know that the trip to the fair is the final trip. And it's happened time and time and time again on a massive scale. So the Animal Hero Kids book that I have has many rescues where children and teens said, no, I can't do it. No. And so I can't do what? Like? I did not know that when we take Cedar the goat to the fair, that's Cedar's last trip. He gets judged and then he gets killed. And they don't realize it. So, and there was many instances where the children and the teens say no, they don't want to do it. And then they're tasked with trying to save, and they have to fight to save their friend. They have to fight. There was students in Coral Gables in a high school, Future Farmers of America, 3 pigs. And they did not want to kill their pigs. The pigs went to auction. They raised money. First of all, they went to the school board and they asked the school board, we don't want to kill our pigs. They said, well, this is how it is. Then they went to the auction and tried to buy the pigs. They didn't have enough money. There was a coach from the school that got the price up to $1,000. They didn't have $1,000. Well, they were communicating with me the whole time, and I sent somebody there that did have money, that was a friend of animals. Steve Rosen, I think his name was. And he bought the pigs, and the pigs were now rescued. And then they were in the sanctuary after that. So, but they fought. And I first saw them when they were crying on the news, when the school board wouldn't allow them to keep it, and the press covered it. They didn't allow them to keep their pigs.
Wow, I can't believe the press covered that.
The press covered it because the students, they were teenage girls that were really working, trying to do everything to save their pigs. They were literally knocking on doors asking people for money. So that was a rescue, definitely. And then now Cedar the goat is the first time that there's a lawsuit in the United States because this girl did not want her goat to be killed. And she realized it, like they all realize it, at the moment that that goat is being taken away for auction. And so she was 9 at the time, and her mother said to the county fair, what do I do? I'll give you money for the goat, I'll do this, I'll do that. So then they took the goat home. Then they took the goat far away, actually 500 miles away, because it was so contentious that this girl wanted to save her goat. The police traveled 500 miles, confiscated the goat. The goat was slaughtered for a barbecue. The girl was heartbroken. Heartbroken. Shasta County Fair in California.
And
So
there's a lawsuit
we
going
have
on.
so much work to do still.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I say we need an animal hero world. These children who love animals need an alternative. What school field trips do they have where they're being kind to animals? The sanctuaries are so far out that it's not easy to go to.
And they're spread thin. They're spread thin. They don't have
Right.
the marketing power or the
Right.
the manpower to get into schools and everything
Right.
it takes. Yeah.
But that's a service that we offer. If you are a sanctuary, I will fly, visit your sanctuary, help you contact the local school district, do school assemblies, teach you how to do the school assemblies, give you all the resources, the Animal Hero Kids book, which schools love. You give the book free after your program. So I will help sanctuaries do that.
That's phenomenal. I worked in human services for 15 years, and the last company I worked for, we had taken over this other company that had just a small scale farm, and it was more to kind of like teach people with disabilities, expose them to animals for therapeutic reasons and all, but it was being neglected and all. We took over this farm and we took it to another level, and we started doing school farm tours there, and it was very successful. This was like before I even went vegan, and then it was like I go vegan, and then 5-6 years later I realize what an animal sanctuary is, and I go visit one, and it's like, and I've been a whole bunch since, but I always feel like they're kind of almost dropping the ball, for lack of better words, because they're not doing what we were doing, getting into the schools. And so I had this idea to create like a school farm tour program that every sanctuary could have this uniform approach that's already packaged and all. But it sounds like you're already doing it.
I have it. I have been teaching since 1980 in the schools. My background is early childhood education. I'm a humane educator, but an effective one where the schools want me to come. They want me to give free programs because I give them free resources, free vegan food, free books, the Animal Hero Kids book, which I have over here. It's like 300 color pages of happy rescues by children and teens of all species of animals. It promotes self-esteem, critical thinking, kindness, it's bullying prevention. And so I get into the schools, do school assemblies about being kind to all. And so I'm willing to help any sanctuary that wants to get into their local school district. I will go there in person, and we can do a school assembly together, the first one, and you can learn how to do it.
And you're saying you'll go to the sanctuary and do this, right?
I will, first of all, we would have a Zoom call, and I would send the free resources.
Are you going to the school or are you going to the sanctuary?
I'm going to both, yeah. I will help with my expertise, successful background. I can help your sanctuary for free to be productive by reaching out to your local school district and having school field trips, but also visiting the schools.
Not only is this like next level, like top level, like activism, but it's also something that the sanctuaries probably need because they're all just struggling for money. And when we were doing the school farm tours, I mean, it was pretty lucrative. Imagine 20 kids or however many, 25 kids per class, or I don't know how big classes are these days, but each one paying $5 a head times 25. You get 2 or 3 school farm tours a day, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. That adds up, and a lot of these sanctuaries are struggling. I can't think of a better way to bring revenue in and activism at the same time.
The way that we broach the subject has to be put in a way of being kind to all animals, because no one can argue with being kind to all animals. Simple as that. Right now, the farming industries, the factory farming, the complete, all of these horrific places, they're doing education. They are paying for school buses to come to their dairy farm.
We're paying for that probably.
Yes. The USDA is paying for it, so we're paying for it. Our tax dollars are going to brainwashing children and upsetting them too, because there are children that go to these so-called farm tours, and there's one particular one that I always forget the name, Farm Life or something it's called. There was that undercover dairy investigation. It was horrific abuse, and they have school field trips. And they have different barns, so-called barns, that the kids visit, and they explain why you have to take away the baby from the mother, because the mother will harm the baby.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the mother will harm the baby, so we're being good to the animals, because otherwise the mother's going to harm the baby. Yeah. I can show you a photo where they actually have a hole in the side of a cow, I'm not kidding, that has like a plastic rim around, and the kids put their hand in this plastic thing to feel the inside of the cow's stomach. The cow is alive. They are using their resources. When I graduated from college, I got all these free colored resources that I could not afford. When it was like a floor puzzle about how good it is to have milk. And of course I never used it. And I got a poster showing how the animals, how happy they were in the laboratories. Color poster, big color poster. What are we giving? What is the animal rights movement doing for this? What place is there for children and teens to go on a school field trip they can get excited about that's not SeaWorld? Again, we need an animal hero world. Now, the Veganza Animal Heroes, children love it, and teens and adults, actually. We went on a tour, a world tour, and we ended up on the front page of the Dublin Live newspaper in costume. So it was freedom, courage, and Veganza, the vegan superheroes, in costume, in their characters on the front page of the Dublin Live News. Vegan superheroes. I am determined to use my skills in the best way possible to reach the most people possible. And whatever doorway that is, if it's get inspired, get your imagination by these action-adventure vegan superheroes, then come on in. If it's, I'm going to help your sanctuary reach kids, I will do it. Whatever needs to be done. Animal Hero World, I have a complete plan for Animal Hero World. It's just missing one thing. It's just missing money.
Yeah.
That's all it's missing.
Subsidies and lobbyists.
We need a backer. We need somebody that feels the way that I do, that children and teens don't have a school field trip destination or a holiday destination where they can learn how to help animals and meet rescued animals. And even like maybe stand in a room and have that total immersion where it's like dolphins and they're swimming around you because it's all on film. Like the whole like you could have like a round room and the film is on the ceiling and the floor, and they could be running with wolf packs. They could be, I mean, they could see how animals are meant to live in the wild.
Yeah, like stepping inside of their world would be amazing, yeah.
And then they'll have vegan food.
Yesterday you were telling me, you said they all clap the same. Remember that? Talk about
that. Whenever I do a school assembly, I like to do school assemblies because I remember when I was in school, if you were doing an assembly, if you were going to an assembly,
you were excited.
You were excited. you were not in class. Yeah, you were not in class, and it must be important.
Yeah.
So not only were you not in class, so here I am in elementary school, sitting down, school assembly, all excited. And that's why I like to do school assemblies. And then I tell the wonderful stories, like one about a pig that was saved by a whistleblower. And I get to also give them new words, a whistleblower. They don't know what a whistleblower is. And I say about how the piglets were being used for paintball practice. And this one teenager, who it was his friends that were doing it, knew it was wrong. So he called around everywhere in Florida. He found a sanctuary, and those piglets were rescued. The children clap and cheer. They show a picture of the happy piglet. And then I'll tell a story about a dog. Then I'll tell a story about a chicken. A girl who was with Future Farmers of America who was supposed to kill her, she was supposed to kill her chicken as her class project. She left with that chicken in her knapsack. Her mother was down in the parking lot, and off they drove. They clap. They do not think, oh, that's only a chicken. That's only a pig. They are not speciesists.
Yeah, they haven't been desensitized enough.
They are not speciesists. Yeah. They are like, they see it as it is. That's why they're so shocked when they find out they're eating animals. I mean, we've all seen those videos of kids who have, one was an octopus, calamari, one was chicken, an Irish. Another one was actually trying to save an animal from being killed. When they realize they're eating animals, they cry. And it's worth crying about, really, the fact. And they say, and the mother, you can always hear the mother off screen saying, oh, what can we do about it? We always ate animals. What will make you happy? What will make you stop crying? I don't want to eat them. I don't want to eat them. They see it before the brainwashing, before the desensitizing, before all of the commercials that are everywhere. Yeah.
You got your book over there. Might as well mention that real quick before we transition to some other things. I'll go ahead and
Should
grab
I get
it for
it?
you. I'll get it for you.
That's the Veganza Animal Hero
Here's
book.
that.
Yep. This is the book that we give out free to every school, library, and sanctuary that wants one. And you can see what I'm talking about with the children, the teens who are helping all species of animals. So it starts with the dogs and the cats, all species of animals who are being saved by children and teens. We also have a chapter in it by Paul McCartney. And a lot of that helps me get into a lot of schools, just that little gem right there. And so it's all species of animals that are being saved and rescued. The stories really resonate with each child and teen, and they just love them. And so I will give this free to any sanctuary. Give me a call. Contact us on beananimalhero.org. It has vegan recipes in here. We had a vegan mac and cheese challenge. So it has the truffle macaroni and cheese recipe. So it has vegan recipes and stories of all species of animals. And a lot of celebrities also. I mean, some amazing stories in here. And as I said, everybody claps in elementary school the same level. It could be an elephant that is rescued, a lion, a tiger, a chicken, a pig. It's all the same to them. And you can see how thick it is, really.
Is this something somebody could just get online also?
We have a mission. If you have a good use for this book, if you, let's say your local library, you think your local library would use it, or there's a school that your child goes to, or your niece or nephew, or your alma mater, we'll send it to you for free. All you have to do is pay for the postage, and we'll send you this book for free.
What other books you got there?
This is the Veganza Superheroes book I was mentioning, where the characters dressed in costume, and we went to England, London, we went to Ireland, Dublin, we went to SPCA summer camps as the characters with vegan food.
And I recognize that one guy over there.
This is Corinne Sutton, who is a vegan professional bodybuilder.
Yeah, I interviewed him yesterday.
He's Freedom, and he helps a lot. He helps Be an Animal Hero charity, which is all volunteer, so we always need lots of volunteers. And he helps, and he's great with the children and the teens, you know. So he came to Ireland, and so did Matali de Capersta, the mermaid, Matali de Capersta. And then I was looking everywhere for someone to do Veganza. And so I was asking my cousins in Ireland, because they live around Dublin, I'm saying, do you know any red-haired vegan that is outgoing that would have time to volunteer? And then I was also looking in Hebdenbridge, West Yorkshire, and because we went to the chicken hatchery that I went to at 9 years old, and it's now a multi-use building for all different companies, and it was also a school, so I went to that school. And so then somebody said to me, why don't you just look in the mirror for the Veganza? And I thought, oh, I'm too old. I'm like 63.
Why did it have to be a redhead?
Because that's the color of the hair for the Veganza Animal Hero.
Oh, you mean it was already drawn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking, well, I get a wig from Amazon or wherever. I could get a red wig, bring it around with me with the costumes, and just find people. But then it made sense then for me to be Veganza Animal Hero, even though some of my relatives think it's crazy. But you know what? Relatives are going to think that sometimes. Fact is that, hey, so what? I am a vegan superhero. In 1980, I was doing vegan superhero stuff. Or 1986, I was doing vegan superhero stuff. Absolutely. I don't mean to, that's just the way it is. So why shouldn't a 63-year-old be a vegan superhero, right? So it's great, and we gave a lot of children and teens some vegan food, and there's actually a whole section in here on how to go vegan and how easy it is. This is one of the rescues over here. So it's what they call a graphic novel. And it was #1 on the Amazon new releases for young adults, in the ecology section. So it's like amazing. And so it has a whole, it's actually a beautiful book. And one of the characters is actually a foster group home team. And she ends up helping the Veganza heroes. And it was inspired by the foster group home teens I have met in my programs. If you're in a foster group home, or if you know anyone that can benefit from this book, the books are free with postage. Just contact us and let us know. And this has great vegan recipes. So great vegan recipes in here. Here, there's recipes that are featured throughout the book, as far as like the characters are having a meal, and then at the end you can have Courage the Mermaid's artichoke bake or something. Yeah. And then this was the picture book, Veganza Animal Hero, and this is the one that we've also done a claymation about. He was actually a kindergartner when I met him. And then he graduated from film school. I met his mother, and he made the claymation. It's beautifully illustrated by Monique Martinez. And so Veganza lives in a banyan tree with her faithful companion, Lovey. This is a rhyming book, sort of like a, and she finds out there's a hunter in the woods that's going to be killing a mother and a baby bear. Now that's something that we were very active in, is stopping the bear hunt here in Florida. It's stopped. They're considering doing it again, so we're going to be coming out in full force against it. Then Veganza's special powers is to freeze a scene of cruelty. And then the perpetrator, she gets into the mind, and the perpetrator feels the fear of the animal that they're harming. And then she suggests things like, oh, you should rehabilitate wildlife, or you should, and that's what she did to this hunter, and he ended up becoming a wildlife rehabilitator. So there's a sort of a surprise at the end that I'm not going to give away, but I will show that this is Courage the Mermaid. So Courage the Mermaid and Veganza are unbeatable defenders of animals. So it's a lot of beautiful scenes and rescues, and it gets the imagination of the children, and more than anything else, it's showing how preferable, how good, how popular it is to save animals, all species of animals. The next step is to take these Veganza animal heroes and make it into a feature-length film, because we need vegan superheroes everywhere. The animals need vegan superheroes.
Now I hear something.
That snoring is Lovey, who is 23 years old and vegan, and you can hear little dog snores if you really listen. I'm not going to wake her up to introduce you, because that would be just not nice.
We'll show some B-roll of her.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can get my mic up on her.
Yeah. We'll see. Here is little Lovey. You might be able to get her. Oh, now she's going to stop. Here she's snoring. Isn't that the most relaxing thing? Dog snores and cat snores is so relaxing. If you're ever feeling like stressed, they should do recordings of dog and cat snores. You know how they have the ocean sounds? You have like dog snores, cat snores. Just sends you off into, I mean, maybe even pig snores would be good from a sanctuary.
I wonder if sloths snore.
I don't know.
It'd be like a really slow.
Yeah, but then I'd worry about the sloths, because I wouldn't want them to be used if they were captive. How do you get a sloth snoring?
I mean, usually people just kind of walk up to them,
and they're sleeping in the forest. Yeah. Fostering empathy is the building blocks of kindness. That's what all these books are about. That's what all my presentations are about. And I say to the kids, how would you feel if a giant put his hand through that window and picked you up and put you in like a glass jar and looked at you? How would you like that? What if it was a big Martian? Or how would you feel never leaving this room ever again for the rest of your life? You always get the one smart alecky kid that goes, that'd be fine. But generally, they don't want to do that. So it's all a matter of just putting ourselves in the place of the other animal. And we're all animals too. It's amazing. I do programs for all ages, in even Rotary clubs, like businessmen's breakfasts. And part of the program, I might say, what kind of animal are we? Complete silence. Here's these businessmen. It's a businessmen's breakfast. And I say, what kind of animal are we? Complete silence. They don't know we're animals. I say that in schools, elementary schools. What kind of animals are we? Mammals. How do we know we're mammals? Because we give our babies milk. How do we? So we are just another animal. We are, if I ever get my dream of an animal hero world, I am going to have an exhibit where there's a mirror, and underneath it, before you go in, it'll say, here's the most dangerous animal in the world in this room, most dangerous animal, and then there'll be a little arrow. This way, careful, most dangerous animal, and then there'll be a mirror. So I do have all kinds of ideas for the animal hero world. But here are these businessmen. They don't even know we're animals. How remote, how separated, you know. So, but meanwhile, the kids know. So that's why some people say, why are you wasting your time with kids? Or, oh, it's so silly.
I see this as being the most quintessential part of our movement. It's the biggest wave, I think, is going to be kids being raised vegan from birth. You're taking care of the ones that aren't.
I'm an activist. And it used to be a dirty word, but now it's not. Now it's okay to be an activist. I actually hid being an activist when I emigrated into this country. Like, I had to say my activist arrests, but I got letters from, at the time, Sergeant Sherry Schluter saying how easy it was to get arrested, had a protest, downplayed the activism and upplayed the education. So that education had to become front and center for me to emigrate. However, I am an activist and an educator, but educating all ages. And that's why we're actually changing the name, Animal Hero Kids, to, it's not going to be Animal Hero Kids anymore. It's going to be an animal hero. Because I do want the message to get out to all people. I always had the message for all people, but that name, Animal Hero Kids, well, now I'm morphing. And that's part of being an effective activist, is to always reevaluate what you're doing. Is this working? Can I make this better? Should I have an Animal Hero Kids arm and an adult arm, or just do it all together? Be an animal hero. We just have to look, what is my skill? What can I be most effective at? I am effective at educating. I'm also effective at confrontational news interviews. Like in the early 1980s, can you imagine the radio show talk hosts and me? They were so determined to paint me as a
reactive,
crazy animal person. There's a crazy animal lady here. They used to call me, my friends in high school called me Animal Crackers. That was my nickname, Animal Crackers. Oh, here comes Animal Crackers. Because why? Because I was against the seal clubbing. In 7th grade, I organized a walkout in the school. So everybody walked out because of the seal killing in Toronto, in Canada. And then we went to another school and convinced some of them to join us. So it was 2 schools that walked out because of the seal killing. But my friends called me Animal Crackers. One time I was on a show here, a television show, and it was Frank the Furrier and me. And they tried to make me into a crazy animal rights activist. You know that saying, first they ridicule, first they laugh, then they listen? Well, this was at the laugh part. So I learned to modulate and be very sensible and rational. And the guy said, well, what about cockroaches? Where are you going to draw the line? You're going to go out saving cockroaches? And I said, do cockroaches, are they wildlife getting their legs caught in leg hole traps, chewing off their own paw? Do you sell coats made out of cockroaches? They're like, uh-oh, this woman is far too...
Are you forcing cockroaches to have babies?
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I didn't realize that was your business, Frank the Furrier. So it's a battle, and it's a matter of taking your best skill, what you're good at, and using it. So you could be a good writer. I am a good writer. You could be a good educator, talker, good filmer, beautiful artist. Look at Monique, how she's created these gorgeous characters. She's using her art to inspire others, to warm their hearts, to have them have their empathy fostered. Look at all the films that there are. So there are so many people that are using their talents to their best skill set, and their determination.
Yeah. This is like got to be 100% on your mind all the time. Does that kind of interfere with your personal life? Could you be with somebody who isn't vegan?
It would be.
All right, you're on TV, right?
Okay. Okay, let's see.
The host asks.
Okay, the person I've been with for 23 years would probably prefer me not being so obsessed, because I can't relax entirely unless I have done something that gives me relaxation. So I could be like, oh, I was successful here, now I can relax. And let's enjoy this and, watch a movie, and I can relax.
Like
my
at
mind,
Leaves and Roots,
Yeah, my mind is at ease. So yes, let's celebrate what just happened with Lolita. It's at the beginning, so we're going to watch it, but still let's celebrate that victory so I can relax. So I'm not relaxed all the time, obviously, unless I'm feeling constructive and productive. So the mind doesn't stop unless I am on the right path. So that takes some planning, time. It could be 9 o'clock at night and I'm sitting at that computer to get that done. And it's not like there's a holiday from the animal abuse. There's no holiday. They're doing it like every single second, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So there's no holiday. But we do need to celebrate the victories for ourselves. But we also, there was a saying that I never heard of before, but Chef Babette Davis said it on the weekend. And she said, "You do you, boo. You do you, boo," which means just be yourself. And if your family or your spouse expects you to be a different person, it's not going to happen. It's the way you are. It's the way you are. Let me just take my head off and be a different person. Not going to happen. I remember one time my mom said, now she wouldn't say this, but at the time she said, "Don't talk about vegan, don't embarrass me in front of my friends, don't this, don't that." I said, "Well, how about you just ask someone else to go?" Because I'm not going to be a different person. That's it. That's the way it is. And this is how I am. I'm not saying it's the best way to be. I'm not saying you should be like that. But this is who I am.
But as far as like being with somebody, like you're gonna have to really work hard with your imagination here.
When I did date, and the person wasn't vegan, let's say, and I dated them, I'd give them a week. Okay, because you meet people, they might not know, they might not be aware of the extent, and then you find out about the extent of the suffering. You know about the extent of the suffering, and you're not vegan. Next. Next. I don't do all this, oh, let's be patient, whatever. No, this is your life. This is your spouse. I guess I'm a little impatient. Some people might say, oh, no. Animals are suffering, and you think you're going to continue to support that suffering, and you think we're going to sit down at the dinner table together? No.
You go out to, say, lunch or whatever, dinner with somebody. Maybe you don't know them too well. Maybe they don't know you too well. They know you're vegan, whatever. And they're not, whatever. The waitstaff's about to come up and ask for your order, and they say, "Is it okay if I order chicken?"
Yeah. A lot of times, I actually used to get that, where people would say, "Oh, well, I want to order duck." That's what somebody said. "I want to order duck at this Thai restaurant." But is that gonna make you feel bad? And it depends how diplomatic I'm feeling at the time. So I would say something like, well, you're asking me, you're apologizing to me when it really should be the duck that you're apologizing to. That's my more diplomatic answer. The other one would be, you really will turn me off my meal me watching you eat. But I prevent that. First of all, I prevent that situation now in my life where, let's say, for instance, I have to do something and it's not a vegan restaurant I'm going to. I will call that regular restaurant. I will arrange a couple of days before to make sure that when I'm sitting at that table, I can say, oh, I spoke with Chef so-and-so and he said he could do the vegan this, because don't forget, it wasn't always vegan things on the menu. And then my meal will be so fabulous because I would have planned it all out. That if there are, let's say it's a big business thing, like sometimes I would go on business things where, you know, those people are not vegan. Then they would see what I get and they'd be like, oh, what do you have?
Yeah.
You know, so that's good. Now what I do is, even when I go into restaurants, I'll say, do you have a vegan menu? And they'll say, what? Oh, you don't have a vegan menu? A separate one? No. Oh, well, Tiger Woods restaurant down the road has a vegan menu. The Woods. Oh, I thought you did. You know, so that's why I kind of like, you know, that's how, a long time ago I lived in Toronto, and every hot dog cart I would say, do you have a vegan dog? Do you have a vegan dog? And they always said, no, 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 for years.
You point
years
out their competition.
Yeah, and no, they never, nowhere had a vegan hot dog.
Yeah, but you'd make one
at the time. Yeah, at the time. I would say, oh, you should buy this brand, or you should buy that. And the person I was with at the time, my partner, would say, stop asking all of the hot dog carts for the vegan. They're never going to have it. Because this was in 1989.
Before
sure
the
enough,
not dog.
Right. So but sure enough, the day came, I said, do you have a, and they did, and then they did, and then they did. So, I mean, it changed, because I could have, and then I asked everyone else, ask that. So, hey, I've been with people that don't necessarily agree with what I do, but they were vegan. They became vegan. You know, they would prefer that I wasn't an obsessed animal rights person that won't be quiet in company if someone says something.
So it sounds like you have a couple options. You got your diplomatic option when somebody says, may I eat an animal in front of you?
Right.
And then you have your visceral response that you would share with them, right? The conclusion I've come up with that might be a good one, at least for me, is just ask them, why are you asking me that?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
That's good. Yeah, asking them, why are you asking me that? Puts it back on them. So that is actually, I think I might start using that. Yeah, why are you asking me that? And they're like, oh, because I feel awkward, because I'd rather not think about it, because you're the mirror I don't want to see. You know? So yeah, why are you asking me that? And then I also, of course, as everyone, all vegans do, I always try to get people to meet me at a vegan restaurant.
Yeah.
So if they want to meet me for lunch or this or that, I'll say, oh, Darpster is great. Planta, they allow Lovey inside and outside of Planta and Darpster. So that's where I go. And there you go.
Yeah. Now, do you take the liberation pledge ever?
Not eating I generally don't eat at tables where people are eating dead animals because it's too upsetting. So if I have a choice, however, if something, let's say for instance, the head of some very wealthy company wants to talk to me about having an animal hero world and donating land for it in Orlando, am I going to say, oh no, I don't I don't eat at tables with, no, I'm going to say, I'll see you there. I go here and here, do you want to meet here? Hopefully they'll say yes. Yeah. And then I'll say, and I can introduce you to Lovey, because Lovey opens doors. And they allow me to bring Lovey in this restaurant. This restaurant, so I could do that, But if not, you think I'm not going to go and meet this person that could finally make my dream come true? Yeah. No. So it's a weighing of Well, what helps more animals? Me sitting at home, losing that opportunity? No. It's all, again, we reevaluate, look at things. What's the best thing to do? How does this help animals? Some people say to me, oh, I didn't go to here and have this because it's fried in oil and it's not good for me, and vegans shouldn't be doing this because it's fried in oil. Okay, wait a second. Let's stop here. Let's go to the slaughterhouse line. Mrs. Cow, what do you think? Do you think we should not support having plant-based burgers because they're fried in oil? Miss Cow, Mrs. Cow, all of your children's cows? No. Fact is it's all about saving animals.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I think, health is very important, of course. We want to represent as well as we can, right? And that's why we really admire people like Corinne
Sutton.
Yeah.
He's a good example of I love to bring him like, hey, look at this weak little hippie vegan over here.
So the health, how important is that in your advocacy, or do you only talk ethics in your advocacy?
Yes, it's healthy to eat whole fruits and vegetables, and I love broccoli. When the Impossible Burger came out, Impossible Whoppers at Burger King, we had 7 cities give out 100 burgers in each city. All of the Animal Hero kids and teens gave out free Whoppers, Impossible Whoppers. And there was construction workers on lunch. There was such a mix of people. North Carolina, this one woman said, keep on advocating for vegan. You might even make me go vegan. That's what she said, and we have that on video.
I don't even see a difference. Keep advocating for vegan. Y'all might make me go vegan.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And why? Because it's what they normally eat. So they're there at Burger King getting what they normally eat. And here, taste this. And they said, wow, I can't believe it. Yeah. This tastes just the same. Why would I buy this when I can buy this and it tastes just the same? Yeah. So that works.
They're probably not care about health too much if they're going to
drive through. No, exactly. Yeah. So it's just a matter of meeting people where they are and saying, okay, you can, if you want to eat that way, we're not going to say, okay, have a salad or eat raw juice or something. If you don't want to eat that way and that's not in their lives, you can just say, just take this one little thing off your plate and here, put this instead. It looks the same, tastes the same. Go ahead, have at it. Then that's success. There's no accident that 42% of Americans have in their fridge plant milks. Why is it? Because it tastes the same, tastes good, tastes better in a lot of instances. It's healthier, they like that, yeah. But there's no difference really. So we have to give them what they're used to, but not animal products. What I'm saying is if a person is used to eating a certain way, then they can eat the vegan version. It's that anything you can do, I can do vegan. Anything you can do, I can do vegan. No animals get hurt. Yes, we can. So yeah, sure. Like for instance, I did a lot of programs where I taught animal abuse laws. The firemen, policemen would come to those programs, and I would always have vegan lunch. And it was crispy tenders, Gardein crispy tenders, pies, like apple pie, blueberry pie, all kinds of really good food, tasting food, and some of it was healthier than other parts of it. And I had, at the end of each program, they would fill out a little survey, and the survey, the only complaint I ever got was from a fireman that said this policeman in front of him was piling up all of the Gardein crispy tenders on his plate. So I was giving those macho law enforcement officers what they normally eat, recognizable food, and they loved it. They went home and tried it. They didn't know they were coming to a vegan thing.
Do you have a quote you like to share?
I have the answer to stopping animal abuse. I have the answer. It's to foster empathy for all species. It's education.
Is the quote, I have the answer?
I don't know, I just made it up.
Oh.
That's my quote. I have the answer to stop animal abuse. It's fostering empathy for all species of animals on a massive scale. That's education. It's advertising. It's animal hero world.
Do you think we'll ever see a vegan world?
I'm not naive, really. You know, I'm optimistic. I'm a perennial optimist because that's the only way you're going to keep going. You have to have some optimism. But I'm not naive either. But the way that we will see a vegan world is if it becomes more profitable for businesses to have vegan products. That's happening. If it becomes affordable and available, then we will see a vegan world. And also, if people are educated about why they're choosing that kinder choice. I like to say cruelty-free. If people, I say,
Or non-violent.
Yeah, I eat cruelty-free. Why are you vegan? Or what is that? Oh, cruelty-free, cruelty-free. That's what I get. No killing, no harming, cruelty-free.
How do you define veganism?
Part of my presentations in schools, a lot of times I have a character, Ronnie V. Cow, big 6-foot costume character. And I say to the children, and what do you think V stands for? In Palm Beach here, they said vodka. One of the 4th graders said vodka. And in California, someone said virtual. This is a 4th grader. So eventually they get around to vegan. Ronnie V stands for vegan. That's how I get the vegan word out in my programs without people getting, scared. So Ronnie Vegan Cow. So they answer vegan. Then there's always someone that says, oh, so-and-so's a vegan, or my mother's a vegan, or Mrs. So-and-so teacher is a vegan. So that's how we get into the conversation about what a vegan is. So it's basically not harming. Not harming. Now, I am not the vegan police, but if you are supporting like horse racing, that's not vegan really, is it? So just saying. If people don't want to harm animals, and if they don't want to harm themselves, and they don't want to harm the planet, they're going to choose vegan. But they have to know that they're harming the planet or harming animals and harming themselves. So that's where education comes in.
Is there anything that we didn't hit that you would really like to get out there?
It's that whole thing like you use what you do best to help animals. We need to all not necessarily work exactly the same or work together.
Of course, yeah.
You do what you do best to help animals and just do it. And know that we all do need maybe some support. And you might meet someone that's at a conference that's the only person in their small town in wherever that is a vegan and that they might need support. So why not be nice to everyone at the same time? Why not just be kind to everybody anyway, You don't know, you don't know at what point you might meet someone where they might need a friendly face or they might need a pat on the back for what they're doing.
Do you think people become more compassionate to people when they're more empathetic to animals?
I can only talk about me and how I feel. I can't really.
Yeah.
So I would say that I empathize with others' suffering. And that doesn't matter to me if what species of animal.
Because sometimes, and I think people logically think, why are you putting animals before people?
The fact is whoever needs the help the most is who we need to help. It is all connected. There is no one that can walk by a dog being beaten in the street without trying to stop it. I am not walking by anyone that is being harmed, no matter what species they are. The fact is that on a global scale, the massive amount of suffering is farmed animals. Epic, monumental epidemic of animal cruelty nightmarish hell for animals, and it needs to stop. That's the most important thing to me. However, if someone is being harmed in my path, I will always try and stop, no matter what species.
Well, it's just incredible, your journey and everything, and I had no idea just how much you've done, and this really helps me appreciate you so much. I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing.
I kind of feel like Schindler's List. Do you ever see that movie, Schindler's List? He never felt that he was helping enough, and I feel like that. Not helping enough. I still see that goat crying to me that I couldn't rescue when I was undercover. I hear that goat. That goat knew, I think, who I was. That goat looked at me and said, "Save me." And I was undercover filming the conditions at the stockyards. I couldn't stop and go and save this goat. All the animals that I couldn't save, all the individuals that looked at me, and I couldn't save them. So people say, "Oh, you're 63. How much longer are you going to do this?" I mean, you're really going to be veganza with wings and a cape? You're 63. What are you going to do that till you're 70? Yes, I am. Someone very close to me said to me, "Really? You're still doing this at this age?" Yes, I am. I have to. Because of all those animals I haven't saved yet.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to do everything in my power to be there right with you, all the way to the end.
We'll support each other. She's like, "Thank you."
Yeah, Lovey was like, not sure in the beginning.
Yeah.
You did excellent the entire time.
Yes.
Your website.
Beananimalhero.org. And we always need volunteers. Beananimalhero.org. We're all volunteer and we need your help.